This week on Inside the Headset, we are featuring Lindsey Wilson College head coach Chris Oliver. Coach Oliver reflects on his team's journey to winning the NAIA National Championship, details how he's built a football program from the ground up, and speaks on the importance of having strong senior leaders in the locker room. Now, let's get inside the headset with Coach Oliver.
Coach Oliver, thanks so much for joining us, man. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing really well. I appreciate you having me on.
Well, super excited to talk with you, man. Congratulations, first and foremost, on the national championship, first ever for Lindsey Wilson College. Congratulations as well for your recent AFCA Coach of the Year honors. And, man, this has had to be a fantastic journey after a challenging year for everybody. And I know I've spoken with a few coaches here that have done the spring football or even did the fall football and just the challenges that arose, being able to come out with just, as much success as you had has been outstanding. What has this year meant to you, the program, and just the school as a whole?
Yeah, I mean, this has been a short process in the big picture, I think, from when we started the program 11 years ago to getting to this point. And obviously there's so much that goes into that. But I think the thing that really hit me after the game the other night was I was so excited for our current kids, the kids that went into this 2020/21 team and winning this championship. And certainly it's a special time. But there's still so many alums of our program who are still fresh in my mind. And I think back to, we kicked off in 2010, but like there were guys here in 2009 who redshirted and we didn't play any games. And those guys put so much trust into us and just seeing the alums that have reached back out to myself and the people on our campus after the win last week. I think that's been one of the most special aspects of this. So certainly I'm so happy for our current kids on the team and they sacrificed so much to get to that point, to be able to win the conference championship, make the playoffs and make that run through the playoffs that we did and get down to Grambling and win the whole thing. But also just the guys that helped build this program over the past decade plus. So, I mean, that's really the special aspect of what this means to us. I think it's bigger than just this year. I think there's a lot of people on our campus community and then others who have come through our program who take such pride in what this particular team accomplished because it's built on the backs of those guys.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, you kind of mentioned it's 11 years. The program started, 11 years ago. In this short period of time, the amount of success that you guys have had is just unparalleled. And just to give everybody a general idea of what you guys have done, just a little snippet, a little fact, you guys lead the state of Kentucky in the last 7 seasons with 67 wins. And so, I mean, that you go back 6 years, that's 5 years. You guys have been a program and this win has just kind of snowballed into this ultimate, hopefully not finish line for you guys, but hopefully a starting point of now that championship caliber ball. So, what do you attribute to the program's success in this short period of time? And, what are some of the foundations and core values that you instilled in this program to let it have that success this fast?
Yeah. Well, the first thing is, when I had the opportunity to interview here at LWC, it became apparent that we had administration that was going to support it and do it the right way. And that sounds cliche and it sounds like I'm probably pumping those people up. But I mean, I work for a president that, he wants to do it great in the classroom, but he cares about athletics. And when we started football, there's a lot of things about starting football at a small college and certainly enrollment based and increasing male enrollment, those things. I mean, that's a positive and that's a reason a lot of schools do it. And that was certainly part of why we started football as well. But we wanted to do it and we wanted to be successful. It wasn't set up just to add 100 football players and 100 student athletes on campus. I mean, we wanted to be successful. So, I mean, Dr. Lucky, our president, is outstanding. And then, we still have the same vice president that athletics reports to and the same athletic director. Those three people are the same as who hired me 11 years ago. So when you ask why we've been so successful, I mean, I would be remiss to not mention that support that starts at the top has been a huge part of that. But I think that we've been committed to try and doing it with, as much as we can with high character young men. We've tried to get out and recruit our home base first. On any given year, the 50% or so of our rosters from Kentucky. And, if you rank the 50 states and the quality of football, Kentucky is, it's not going to be in your top 10.
Right.
But we've always wanted to recruit the home base first. And we've got a lot of guys who were playing in the national championship game last week who were, homegrown kids. And we've been committed to building our roster around that and forming those connections with the high school coaches and trying to get out and spread what our program is about and what we're trying to do from a player development standpoint. I've been asked that question a number of times the past week or so about, hey, what allowed you to get to that point? And to me, it's about doing a lot of different things as well as you can. I don't think there's a magic bullet to winning a college football championship. And I think there's so many aspects and moving parts of a college football program. It takes doing a lot of those things at an extremely high level and trying to do it better than your competition and knowing those guys are trying to do the same thing. So I don't know if there's a magic bullet that has helped us get over that, sticking to the process and recruiting kids with high character and trying to get them to buy into what we're doing. And fortunately, our kids, our players have really answered the call and bought into, what we're trying to do from a program standpoint of development on and off the field.
Coach, I love the fact that you're exactly right. Bottom line is the recipe to success for, Alabama is probably slightly different than what you guys, your success is. And there's definitely probably a lot of overlap at the same time. But I think one thing that is really common, and I'm happy you mentioned it because it's not often talked about, I think it's talked about probably by coaches, but maybe not people on the outside, is that administration, just that support from outside of that locker room and that, the athletic offices, just being able to have an athletic director that, can support, understand, and make sure that they're there, especially in a program that's just starting. And a lot of times in some of those smaller programs, you're right, it is about adding adding some students to the campus and things like that when all of a sudden it's about the student athlete experience and making sure that they can come and walk out and having a great football experience. That's awesome. Yeah. So I appreciate you for mentioning that. Now I think this is really interesting. This isn't your first time in a startup program per se. Now you had the experience as an assistant coach there at Ohio Dominican, as they got the ball rolling. Both programs obviously had significant success in a short period of time. What are some of the similarities maybe that you saw from the two programs, at Ohio Dominican and here at LWC that, you were able to carry over, maybe some lessons that you learned as an assistant coach, watching the head coach, watching his relationship with administrations, some boxes that you maybe realized you needed to check and, all those type of things that your typical person that might have interviewed for that LWC job that didn't have the experience in a startup program that that you were able to capture there at Ohio Dominican.
Yeah, that was a huge, valuable experience for me. I worked for a guy named Dale Carlson, who was the first head coach there, and I got that job. It was kind of right place, right time. I was looking to get into my first real coaching job after college. I was an undergrad assistant for a little bit at Ohio State, but I was able to work cheap and I was available. So Coach Carlson hired me, and man, what a blessing that was. And I think one of the big things I took away from that process, at ODU, was just watching Coach Carlson, who had been through starting a program prior to that, actually at what used to be Tri-State University, which is now Trine up in Indiana. He wasn't willing to set aside what he felt like was the better thing for the program in the long term to take a shortcut in the short term. And I'm talking about discipline. I'm talking about character. I'm talking about the way you went about, coaching guys and bringing guys into the program and those standards that we were going to set. Sometimes you can get antsy and you want to microwave the process. Right. You want to get there as fastest and try to take those shortcuts. And, Dale was never a guy that was going to allow us to take those shortcuts if he felt like maybe a tougher path was the better path for building the program and the overall culture of what we were trying to do. And I was a part of, getting our teeth kicked in. We were 0-10 our first year in 2004. And then we went 3-7, 7-3, 12-1.
Yeah.
And, just seeing that process from a guy who was, a great leader and Coach Carlson, that was so valuable for me. So fast forwarding, to the opportunity to interview here at LWC and going through that process and seeing some of those shortcomings, seeing some of the positives. I mean, that was certainly something that helped me get my foot in the door for an interview. And then I ended up, being that guy and again, right place, right time, right set of circumstances. You just never quite know. I was getting a chuckle the other day about, I interviewed for a couple other head coaching jobs right around that time and I didn't get them. And at that point I was thinking, man, it's just heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Didn't get the job. And, you get so wrapped up in that. And, I was kind of chuckling to myself the other day, like what a blessing missing out on some of those jobs is. And when you're in this profession, whether it's head coach, assistant coach, man, you're probably going to be turned down a lot more than you're hired.
That's right.
And I think sometimes you get wrapped up in that, and that's part of this profession. But sometimes that can be a blessing, and you may not realize it till a decade later.
Yeah.
But that's part of it. Sorry, I'm getting off track.
No, that's awesome, Coach. And one of the things you said early on, which as weird as this sound, kind of gave me goosebumps a little bit because this game is so special. I know one of the more popular offensive schemes is the air raid offense, right? And you got Hal Mummy and these guys that all were in a room together, kind of creating some of that stuff. Now they got a lot of their ideas from Bill Walsh, and then now it's at Texas Tech with Mike Leach, and it's just spreading all over as those guys from that staff continue to spread over. And it's like, Coach Carlson started a program up at Tri-City, which is now Trine, as you mentioned, and I'm sure some of those core tenants probably ended up there at Ohio Dominican, and some of those core tenants from Tri-City is all of a sudden in Lindsey Wilson. And it's just kind of crazy how that thing will go forward, and maybe somebody from your staff at some point in time will join a startup program, and just that those roots just kind of continue to grow, and that's what makes this game so special, man. I appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah, you nailed it. And the thing is, when you're just getting into it and you're 23, 24, 25, I mean, I don't think you appreciate that at all.
No doubt.
And it's one of those things, you do it more. And I'm still young. I'm 39. I'm still young. But you do it more and you start to build those connections and you realize, just how special that is and how important that is. And honestly, that's the worst part of not having the convention last year is, not being able to do that. And I remember going to the convention that first year. Dale took me down. We went to Orlando years ago, and I didn't know anybody. I was like, oh, my gosh, well, how am I going to do in this profession? And now it's like you have those connections and you see those people, and we've got coaches who have gone out and done great things who have been here. It's just an awesome deal. And the further you get into it and more invested you are in it, the more special it becomes.
Hey, Coach, you're man, you said so much good stuff. I think I'm going to start asking on this podcast every last coach that first convention experience.
Yeah.
Because what's crazy, everybody says the same thing. I'm no different. My first convention, I'm looking around, I'm like, man, I might need to change my profession. I don't think I can make it. And, you're starstruck because the guys you're seeing on the sidelines on TV are walking by. You don't have the nerves to go up and speak to them. And then you just look 5-10 years later, and everybody's circling you, shaking your hand. It's just it's crazy how the profession kind of continues to turn like that. Now, I had to ask this. I thought this was pretty cool. In a very unique scenario, you guys had a graduation ceremony for your seniors, and you kind of held that in Louisiana, Grambling State football field. Just talk about first and foremost, what that senior class meant to you. I know they'll forever hold a special place in your heart, much like a lot of these classes will, just been so early in the program's history here. But also kind of what was that all about, having that graduation ceremony there at that moment?
Yeah, it was a neat deal. And I think college coaches get it. I mean, we're going to graduate almost just as many guys in December as we will in May.
Right.
You kind of get on that rotation of red shirting and those things. So we had we had 12 guys who graduated this May, and that's when they finished their bachelor's degree. And we had some guys on the team who graduated last December and then came back for one more term who really weren't in that group of 12, but there were certainly other seniors on the trip who've been, just a huge part of what we've been able to accomplish. I mean, these guys, it's tough to put it into words, just, what this group of guys have done for our program, and, won 40 plus games the past 4 years. But more than that, just helped us firm up the culture of our program. And that, culture and process, all that stuff's so in vogue. All of us are talking about it, but it is something we believe in our program, and we believe it's a real thing. And, we challenge our guys to strengthen that and build that and try to pass that on to the young guys. And our senior group did such a great job of helping those guys through, that growth process. And especially when you factor in COVID. I mean, we're like a lot of people. We had 4 spring practices under our belt last March, went to spring break. We're going to come back and finish the other 11 practices, and we never saw them again. We had to shut down, and guys kind of came back, trickled back to campus and moved out of the dorms, but then we didn't see them again in person until August. And we really challenged our guys up, and we were probably a little bit ahead of the curve on some of the Zoom things and some of the team building things we did during the COVID break. But that was really because our seniors and our leaders carried us through. And it was just so impressive to see those guys come to camp, go through a challenging fall when our conference decided to push back our season to the spring, and we went through a fall where we were going in and out of quarantine and stoppages and those types of things. And I mean, it really took our seniors to get us through and get to that point where finally it was February 12th. And we're dodging an ice storm, getting ready to kick off our season. And the reason we were able to be so successful is because of what our players were able to do from a leadership and accountability standpoint, and that tone that they set. So, just summing up their GPAs, their degrees, their record over the years and all that stuff doesn't do it justice for what this group of guys really did for us as a program and the challenges that they took on over the past number of years. But then to be able to do it at Grambling, in Eddie Robinson Stadium. First of all, we got to go to the Eddie Robinson Museum and take our team there a couple of days before kickoff. That was awesome. I mean, that was an awesome experience to see our guys learning about Coach Robinson. I mean, that was really neat. But we had those guys, and our president and administration was coming down to the game, so I called Dr. Lucky and I said, "Hey, I got an idea. We got guys graduating on Saturday. I know you're going to be in Columbia, Kentucky for graduation, but you're coming down Saturday night to the game and going to be there for a couple of days. What if during our practice time we do a graduation ceremony on Sunday in the stadium?" And he was on board. He's packing his gear and his whole get up and all that. And we had those guys bring their cap and gowns, and then we did it at the beginning of our walkthrough period. At the end of it, we invited parents who were already in town because it was the day before kickoff. We said, "Hey, come on in, come on into the stadium, sit in the stands." And we just did that whole deal right there and had the president of the college there, handing out that diploma and taking those pictures. I mean, that's a pretty neat experience. And our guys were like, "This is way better than going through a normal graduation ceremony." It was faster. It was a cool setting. I mean, that was a special moment.
Coach, well, as an outsider, somebody that holds this game in high regards and, trying to do the best I can to make sure that this game is in a good place from my standpoint. I appreciate you for coming up with that great idea and making this special. NAIA program, most likely, you don't have a ton of guys that's going to even have an opportunity or a sniff to play at the next level. Been able to create, not just that memory of the national championship. That's a no-brainer. They're going to remember those moments for sure. Yeah. But things like that, man, those are the things that stick. Those are the stories that get told when those guys are back around each other in 10 years from now. Hey, you remember right there at Grambling State we graduated? That's creating those awesome moments, man. That's what it's about. That's fantastic, Coach. And as we get ready to close up here, I thought you guys had a cool motto and kind of a hashtag that you followed throughout the year. Make a way. And what a year to find a way or make a way, and you guys chose to make a way. Where did the hashtag come from, and how has the application, kind of contributed to the success of the season?
Yeah, we've, we're like a lot of teams. We're going to have that yearly motto and yearly slogan, and we've got some kind of big picture mantras within the program that carry over year to year. But then we're going to have the yearly motto, and we often are picking that, January, February, sometime in that process, and we try to let something come to us. We try not to force it. We try not to go too early because we want it to be truly, applicable to what we're doing in that year, and we don't want it to be too generic and any of that stuff. So we come out of 2019. We lost in the semifinals to a great Marian University team in a game that we led for a lot of the game and got away from us in the fourth quarter, and they got it done. And, went into Christmas break off a tough loss and come back in January not having a clue what was going to happen for COVID. And I think we just kind of went to work. We didn't really come up with a real motto at that point. Sort of happened naturally a little bit later on. And it was really in March before we determined that it was going to be make a way. And it became apparent once COVID occurred that things were going to be completely different. And, a lot of people say, we got to find a way. And we felt like it was important to make a distinction between this isn't going to be about finding a way. Right. We're going to have to do it ourselves. If we want to meet our expectations, if we want to get to the finish line of what we have for our goals, we're going to have to make that path for ourselves. So we were very deliberate about choosing that make rather than find, because it was going to have to be on our guys to do it. They bought into that mantra in a big way. Again, you can throw stuff on a T-shirt, you can put it on a board, you can put it on the hashtag and all that stuff. If the kids don't buy into it and believe in it, then it ain't worth anything. Right. But our guys bought into that thought process of, hey, this is going to be on us. No one's going to do it for us. And we told our guys very early on, I think probably by late April, when it became apparent, like, okay, we're not coming back to school. We're going to be doing the summer on our own and have to do that. We said, this COVID situation is going to magnify the teams and the individuals who are detail oriented, and it's going to magnify those who are not detail oriented. So which way are we going to go? Are we going to take ownership of that and say that everybody has these same challenges and we're going to be committed to doing it better than others? And that's what we challenge our guys up to do. And that's what we did. So, again, the slogan, the hashtag, all that stuff is great, but if the kids don't buy into it and believe it, then it doesn't mean much. And fortunately, our kids really bought into that idea.
Coach, this was a fun podcast. I appreciate you hopping on with us. Before we let you go, love for you to share your social media handle so any coaches can give you a follow on Twitter, keep up with your program. If they got any questions, they can shoot them to you there.
Sounds good. I'm on Twitter at LWC Coach O. Our team account is at LWC_football. So don't really have a big Instagram following. Some of our guys want us to get on there a little bit more. We haven't done that enough. Probably need to do a little bit more for recruiting, but we kind of stick to Twitter.
Yeah, that's cool, Coach. Well, we'll make sure to tag those in the show notes, and we sure appreciate you. And congratulations once again. Tremendous season, tremendous start to the program. I know you're going to keep the ball rolling over there. And if there's anything we can do for you here at the AFCA, give us a shout.
All right. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks, Coach. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Inside the Headset. If you heard anything on this episode that you would like to learn more information about, head over to afcapodcast.com, where you can find every episode and all of the corresponding show notes. While you're there, take a second to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions for the show, please let us know by sending an email to podcast@afca.com. Make sure to follow the podcast on Twitter at Inside the Headset and tag it when you share each episode. You can stay up to date with all things AFCA by following the @WeAreAFCA Twitter account. Every episode of Inside the Headset can also be found on your favorite audio streaming platforms such as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. If you are not currently a member of the AFCA, Be sure to find us online at afca.com and apply to join over 10,000 NFL, college, and high school coaches from around the country who are striving to be the best they can be. With an AFCA membership, you gain invaluable access to the annual AFCA convention, the bi-monthly magazine, and the new and improved digital library, which contains thousands of videos and articles contributed by hundreds of current and former football coaches. You can also visit afcainsider.com to sign up for our free weekly email newsletter on the right-hand side of the screen. It comes out every Tuesday at lunch and is filled with great articles and stories written by many of the same coaches you hear on the podcast. It's geared to help you become a better coach tomorrow than you are today. Be sure to connect with me on Twitter at Coach Mario Price, and remember, the AFCA is not just an annual convention. It is an association that continually promotes education, guidance, and networking. But it is also so much more than that. The AFCA is about celebrating the past and educating the future. It is about developing great coaches who will produce great teams and even better people. So invest in your skill set and impact today by engaging with the AFCA.